Bangladesh is one of the countries where we have come the longest and furthest in the last 5 years, and we have moved from 18% to 40% in literally 3 or 4 years. And it is one of our businesses where we've really brought together the best of leadership, infrastructure, policies, attracting great talent, giving them opportunities, growing them, mentoring them. And I see the road to 50 very clear. We have plans, our leadership is committed, and it's just a matter of time. A couple of things that were sort of ingrained in me from my early childhood. The first was that I could be whatever I wanted to be, and my parents and family didn't put any pressure on a career or a choice of profession they wanted me to step into. The second thing is because I was born into a family of professionals, the work ethic and values was very, very deeply ingrained in me from the beginning. And that I think really charted the course. Quite early as I was studying economics, I realized that I wanted to do something that involved working with people, but not necessarily in a philanthropic sense. And so HR was a choice that came to me quite early, and it's something that I haven't lived to regret even for a moment. It very closely sits with my personal leadership purpose, which is that people have a potential which is more than they realize, and therefore when you get the right opportunities, when you get the right support, you can light that spark, and therefore, and I have benefited from it in my career, and that's what I want to do in my work every day. After that, I was seconded to London for 6 years, where I worked as executive assistant to our former chief HR officer, and then I was the head of our home care business globally, and also had a chance to lead Unilever's talent attraction agenda globally before I was appointed into my current role as the chief HR officer for Unilever in South Asia. So it's been a fantastic journey, very, very stretching assignments, lot of opportunities to grow, and wonderful bosses and mentors who've kept me on my toes and really supported me when I needed it. It's tough for female employees to, to make choices if the organization is not supportive. And the one thing that we do as an organization is make sure that our female employees return to big, meaningful jobs. If possible, we keep their jobs vacant for the time that they are away on maternity. And we find that if women leave the organization, it's not only because they've become mothers, but they want good prospects and growth as much, and therefore we would like them to have that in Unilever. So the first thing we've done is made sure that our women employees come back to big, meaningful jobs. The second is to give the support in this sensitive period after maternity, and we have a program called Maternity and Paternity Support, where not just the mother but both the parents have the support to talk it out, ask questions, lean on buddy and peer groups. And we find that this is a big source of psychological support at a time when you can start to question whether you're doing the right thing. The third thing is infrastructure and flexibility through our policies. So we were talking about daycare, and most of our offices across the world, and Bangladesh is a great example, have world-class daycare facilities where not only women employees but even fathers can bring, and so many of our young fathers choose to bring their children to the Unilever daycare. And then of course policies, whether they are on maternity leave, paternity leave, then the flexibility of working, which is part of our hybrid ways of working. And I think the most important thing is to sort of have understanding mentors and line managers, because the reason women choose to drop out is because sometimes they self-select and they assume that it's going to be tough. And I think having role models and supportive bosses, and therefore we really encourage our line managers and leaders to stay connected with our employees, women who've come back from maternity, young mothers. Like I said, Unilever in our markets across Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India and Nepal is a talent factory. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is being able to attract and retain the best talent. And when I was in that role, after a long gap, we went back to being employer of choice across all 5 markets, including Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, that's a feat that we have kept up over the last decade, where not just FMCG, but we are employer of choice across sectors. And I think that is a very, very fulfilling and a moment in my life where, because being employer of choice is having that blind product win when you launch a brand, and it's we bring all the science of marketing to building our employer brand, and I think that was a very exciting time. Also, the time that I worked in London was really exciting because it gave me a completely different perspective, more strategic, working and influencing leaders of different cultures, different styles, and much to learn. It's not any one thing. Like a sauce has a lot of ingredients that make it magical, there are a lot of things that we do. Important is how we keep a relationship with talent even before they join Unilever, and we have programs like Sparks in Bangladesh. We have activations like Biz Maestros, and these are household names amongst university students, because it gives them an opportunity to understand and interact with the organization even before they come. And one of the reasons we do it is because when you make that choice of organization, you want to make that right choice, and we want the talent who joins us to be passionate and truly bought into what we stand for as an organization, just as much as we want to make the right choice and selection. Then of course it's about the whole science of selecting right and selecting what's right for Unilever, people who bring in the best of functional competence, domain expertise, but also the leadership elements that make us uniquely Unilever. And then of course it's our really amazing management training program, which we call the UFLP program, which is now in its 6th decade in our cluster. And there it's about the consistency. We don't compromise on the rotations. We don't say that we have a vacancy in the business, let's take a trainee out of their rotation. It's that consistency, making sure that they get feedback, they have a framework of coaches, mentors who support them. And then as they get on in their career, it is the depth and width of experiences, international experiences, which is such an important part of growing leaders. Today, you see the management committee of Unilever Bangladesh. 8 out of 10 people who sit on this team are people who've had international experience, and that really gives them that edge. So it's a combination of a number of things that really give us that edge. Response to this question would have been a bit different a few years ago, but I do think the experience of COVID has been a great leveler. And if I look at employee trends, there are a few trends that we see in South Asia which have really sort of fast forwarded beyond what we would have seen in the past, and it's what employees value. The two big ones being flexibility and the notion of you only live once, and therefore making the most of your life and time. And so issues and questions of work-life balance, the need for hybrid ways of working are much more in our region now than they would have been in the West. In the West, flexi working and the importance of work-life balance or effectiveness was more prevalent for the last many decades. Today, I think that difference has got leveled out. What I see as, one of the things where when I first went to London, I found a big difference in the way people worked, was a very organized, structured, almost more disciplined approach to work, doing one thing at a time. But I also think that the positive side of that in our culture is that agility, that ability to multitask, and it makes us more resilient to external influences. When suddenly a curveball is thrown at you, you don't worry, and you are able to deal with it and sort of deal with competing priorities. But like I said, the workforce is changing, expectations are changing, and therefore we have to make sure that we keep ahead of the curve.